everybody, Rutledge from NerdyRaptor here. I'm here with Bryan from Warpo Toys. He's going to give us a little bit of background on the company and what you can see coming in the next couple months.
So, Warpo Toys started in 2013. There's three principals of the company. I'm Bryan, Eric, and Tommy. We're all veterans from the toy industry.
Okay.
We've been designing and making products for collectively around 20 years.
Okay.
We're also die-hard toy collectors, you know. So we're kind of moving on our passions and moving forward with a unique collectible toy company approach that we're not seeing out in the market right now. What Warpo does is we create toys for collectors that look indistinguishable from their retro counterparts.
Okay.
And we do that through a process that we're calling method manufacturing.
Okay.
That's a process that we're coining and is unique to Warpo's approach to product development. It's gonna be what will help us change the landscape of collectible toys and really kind of disrupt that market.
Sure.
Here's the process. Here's how we're gonna go about doing it.
Okay.
You know? We're not interested in remaking or reissuing old toys or licenses. You know, that's already been done by
pretty much a staple at this point.
Right, exactly. That's been the approach for specialty toy companies and collectibles to go back and find old licenses or old movies and then to put those toys out again. What we want to do is, you know, take a look at the toy history timeline, right? And then rip a little pocket right into certain areas and insert our own properties, our own toys, our own concepts, and tell our own stories that sit right on the shelf right next to Star Wars and your Clash of the Titans action figures from 1978, you know?
That's awesome.
That approach is not new, you know. It's something that's being used in other creative parts of product development or other creative products. For example, are you familiar with
Best album ever.
Yeah, Random Access Memories is really great. They put that out in 2013 and really geeked out in the same way that we want to geek out on all the details of recreating a previous experience. So, you know, they replaced all the microphones in the studio with authentic 70s, you know, microphones for recording. They worked with other artists that were around in the time of that era that they wanted to create to bring like a unique perspective and insight into and a sound that they probably wouldn't have been able to get without them, you know. And then followed it through with their advertising and the record covers and the merchandise that kind of surrounded around it to give the full package of like a 70s feeling pop album.
Which is I love that album. It's fantastic.
Are you familiar with J.J. Abrams' book S?
I am not, actually.
Yeah, a lot of people haven't heard about it, but it's really great. Like it's out at Barnes & Noble right now, but it feels in every way like a book that would have been printed in the 1960s and sat on a library shelf for like 10 years, you know? So whether it's the foxing on the inside of the pages or like the binding or worn stickers that are all over the book, it feels really aged. It's this really interesting artifact that's made nowadays, but comes from a point in time in the past that never existed, you know? So those experiences like that have really been exclusive or outside of the toy industry in the past, you know, until now, until what Warpo wants to do. And the way that we're going to do that is, like I mentioned before, through method manufacturing, which is a process that is very similar to method acting. Are you familiar with method acting? Yeah. So, you know, we want to take on the roles of those manufacturers back, you know, in the certain time periods that we are trying to make a toy for, and try and make decisions and pay attention to all the same details and things that they were paying attention to. With method manufacturing, we've got like 4 pillars of things that we feel strongly about, or things that we're going to follow as our main platforms to produce toys. The first one's research. You know, even though we're die-hard toy collectors, it takes a lot more information than just knowing like all the names of all the old toys.
Oh,
you know? There's manufacturing processes that differ from the way that we manufacture toys now. There's like budgetary and marketing approaches that were totally different. There's things that were happening in pop culture and trends that that affected the way that certain toys were made, or the subject matter for those toys, you know, or the way that an action figure's hair looked, you know. Yeah. We want to go in and dig as deep as we can to become geeky historians for that kind of toy stuff, right? This is probably our cornerstone of what method manufacturing for us is all about, is the originality part. Because, you know, obviously we could go after old licenses and try and apply these techniques, but we feel so strong about this approach that there's no reason why new properties or new characters or new stories can't be told using this platform, right? Now more than ever, collectors are filling up their shelves with the stuff that they love, you know, that they can collect. It used to be, you know, in the 80s and 90s when you're collecting this stuff, it would take, you know, years to complete your collection. But with the internet and accessibility to other people or toys, you know, now you can complete a collection depending on like how much money you have in months, you know, super quick. So
you don't have to actually hunt down a distributor in another state, you just eBay.
Right, yeah, and you can purchase it. So, you know, after these collectors are completing those collections, that hunger for more of that style of product doesn't go away, you know? So we want to make original, new product that can sit right on the shelf next to all those other toys and start to tell new stories through. The third pillar is design. We're working with veterans of the toy industry to give us that unique perspective, just like that Daft Punk album that we were talking about, you know. Reaching out to finding sculptors, finding painters that were around at that point in time to give us perspective, give us some insight into how things the processes and how things were being made back then, but then to also apply their craft in the ways that they did back then. So instead of sculpting on a computer or digitally painting, you know, we want everything to be done by hand, to apply that process and just to give it that one more step of detail that maybe other toy companies wouldn't think that are important, you know, in the final product. And then also the design piece also falls on us as a company, Warpo, to make sure that we're pulling those artists into keeping a perspective on what it is that we want to do, you know, like even though we're going after these guys that were working and doing things in the 70s and 80s, you know, there's this, the toy industry is very focused on what's new, what's next, innovation, you know, what's the next thing, make it better, make it cooler, make it hotter. And these guys have been on those rails for so long that a lot of times they'll be making these suggestions for the sculpt or for the painting that doesn't necessarily apply to our approach, you know. So that's where the design role falls on to us, to really kind of pull them back and keep them on track with the perspective of making a toy that looks of the era. And then the last one is production, which is probably the most obvious, you know, but it's crucial. Yeah. We want to use materials and processes to create a product that looks looks as authentic to the time period as possible. That falls all on Warpo and our demands on the vendors. It's probably an area that most specialty toy companies have missed because they don't think that maybe the end consumer will appreciate it or see it, but when it's all pulled together in this package of paying attention to those details, we believe it'll create a better collectible product in the end.
It's not just certain parts that you're focusing on for your process. You want it all to be back in that time frame, so it's a legitimate package. You're not just getting a half-assed, okay, well, we designed it like it was back then, but we didn't really manufacture it.
I used the Photoshop filter that said, vintage or,
Instagram.
Yeah, right, exactly. Everybody brings up Instagram, and it's like that's, for so long we've been kind of fed those visuals, and that's what retro is. Yeah. That we want to be the historians to really go back and present these toys so that it feels like the toys that you're looking at a new toy that was made in 2014, but feels like it was taken right off the shelf in 1980.
So legitimately a retro toy in every aspect of it.
Right, except for that it was made in 2014.
Yeah. Just a little clip note there.
So, as I discussed, there's lots of things that we have to take into consideration. It's not just making it look old, but it's choices that we'll make either in the subject matter or the storylines that we're telling, or the look of those figures, that we have to gather up all those different factors and kind of pull that in and play the role, and method act or method manufacture our toys. So, as I mentioned before, we've got a league of Warpo artists that we're working with to bring that perspective, to work with us. The first two guys that we're working with is Eddie Mosqueda. He worked at Mattel throughout the 80s and did a lot of great sculpts for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, for He-Man. He's also working on the newest reboot of all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figures.
Am I the only one that finds the new models for them very weird? Like the face, it creeps me out.
Yeah, it's definitely a different approach, right?
They're definitely stepping away from the original.
Right, yeah. And Ken Kelly is our painter or illustrator that we're working with for all of our package art. He did a lot of great toy package art in the 70s and 80s, Micronauts, LJN's Advanced Dungeons and Dragons line. He also painted the cover for Kiss's Destroyer album. He's a very talented and a very interesting veteran of the toy industry. We've gained a lot of insight from him, and more importantly, he still paints by hand, which
that's pretty rare.
Was kind of hard to find.
Everybody's using the whatever those are called, the tablets.
Yeah, right. And we had found other guys that had been in the toy industry for 30, 40 years, but would not go back and paint by hand anymore. They want to do it digital, and we kind of held our ground until we found Ken, which was a perfect marriage. I mean, all of the I shouldn't say all of, but a lot of the inspiration pieces that we had collected and put into our own style guides internally, Ken had done a lot of the artwork for that stuff, unknowingly. So it worked out really well once we were able to get together with him. So our first product launch, we've been working on this like crazy since December of 2013.
Okay.
The design and product sculpts are almost completely finished.
Awesome.
We've got our marketing calendar in place, and everybody in our team, and then even our outside connections, like our press contact, everybody's working like crazy to get things going. But we can't disclose anything right now. Yeah, we have to come back in June and release the photos, do a proper product release, at that time we'd love to circle back around with you guys. You know,
where are you guys actually located?
In Illinois. Here.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah. Are you guys too?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah,
that actually works out. We could come out to your office, visit, whatever.
Yeah, cool.
Definitely.
Yeah,
oh, man, you're gonna love that.
The main thing that we wanted to do was, you know, give people insight into who Warpo is as a company, because, you know, we've got a unique approach that probably or has a really good opportunity of getting bypassed once we release the product, you know? So now you know who we are, you know what we're about, you can help to spread the word about what Warpo is, so that then when we do release that product, you already have that, you can look at that product in a different way, you know, because you know what we're all about and you know the time and consideration that we're putting into those toys. So. What do you think's the next, like, what opportunities do we have with you guys, like either now or once the product launches? Like, is this something that would work good for?
Yeah, I mean, our approach for Nerdy Raptors, we're covering comics, we're covering, you know, general nerd stuff, tabletop. I mean, we're into all of it. We've got two sites. Obviously, we've got Tech Raptor for our tech and our gaming, but we can definitely fit toys in there, especially with all the cons that we're doing, and we're seeing some pretty awesome stuff. It actually fits right in line with our site. So, I mean, we'd be glad to share anything that you can send our way, and I'm sure our readers would love to keep up with it.
Cool, great. Well, we'll keep you guys on the media list and hang out with you here in Chicagoland.
Cool. So yeah, stay tuned. We'll have more stuff for you guys in the coming months. Obviously, June is when you'll see some more. But it's been nice talking with you, Bryan.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you.
Stay tuned for more C2E2 coverage.